Hello friends, welcome to our channel Cbse English, the topper's choice. In today's video, we are going to discuss class 12th second lesson from the book Flamingo Lost Spring. Here we go. At the beginning, we'll talk about the author of this lesson. Anees Jung is the author of this lesson. Anees Jung was born in 1964 in Rourkela and spent her childhood and adolescence in Hyderabad. She received her education in Hyderabad and in the United States of America. Her parents were both writers. Anees Jung began her career as a writer in India. She has been an editor and columnist for major newspapers in India and abroad, and has authored several books like Unveiling India, which was published in 1987, Encounters with Muslim Women in India, published in 1993, Seven Sisters, published in 1994, Breaking the Silence, published in 1997, Beyond the Courtyard, published in 2003. Theme of this lesson. The theme of this story or lesson Lost Spring is the plight of street children forced into labor early in life and denied the opportunity of schooling. The sub-theme is the callousness of society and the political class to the sufferings of the poor. Introduction to this lesson. The story Lost Spring describes the pitiable condition of poor children who have been forced to miss the joy of childhood due to the socio-economic condition that prevails in this man-made world. The children are denied the opportunity of schooling and forced into labor early in life. Anees Jung gives voice to eliminate child labor by educating the children and to enforce the laws against child labor by the governments strictly. The call is to end child exploitation and let the children enjoy the days of the spring that bring joy under their feet. The story is an excerpt from her book titled Lost Spring: Stories of Stolen Childhood. Here, she analyzes the grinding poverty and traditions which condemn these children to a life of exploitation. Now we'll discuss the summary of this lesson. Lost Spring, an extract from Anees Jung's book, The Lost Spring: Stories of Stolen Childhood, has a tinge of irony. Spring, being the best season of a year, is full of color, fragrance, freshness, renewal, and growth. Similarly, the childhood of human life is often linked to spring, as it marks the beginning of human life, full of joy, pleasure, play, and growth. The writer expresses her concern over the exploitation of childhood in hazardous jobs like rag picking and bangle making. Abject poverty and thoughtless traditions result in the loss of childhood of millions of children like Saheb and Mukesh by working hard to support themselves and their families rather than enjoying their childhood by playing and seeking education. There is a dire need to provide these poverty-stricken children opportunity to dare, dream, and live a life of dignity. Thus, the title brings out the depravity of child labor in a very telling way. The author examines and analyzes the impoverished condition and traditions that condemn children to a life of exploitation. The living condition and the working environment in a woeful tale. Life in dingy cells and working close to hot furnaces make these children blind when they step into the adulthood. Weighed down by the debt, they can neither think nor find a way to come out of this trap. These children are denied education and forced into hardships early in their lives. Part 1. Sometimes I find a rupee in garbage. The first part tells the author's impressions regarding the life of poor rag pickers. The writer encounters Sahib, a rag picker whose parents have left behind the life of poverty in Dhaka to earn a living in Delhi. His family, like many other families of rag pickers, lives in Simapuri. They do not have any identification other than a ration card. The children do not go to school and they are excited at the prospect of finding a coin or even a 10 rupee note for rummaging in the garbage. It is the only way of earning a living. They live in impoverished conditions but resigned to their fate. The writer is pained to see Sahib-e-Alam, a rag picker whose name means the ruler of universe, losing the spark of childhood and roaming barefoot with his friends. Now, from morning to noon, Sahib works in a tea stall and is paid rupees 800 per month. He sadly realizes that he is no longer a free bird and master of his own will. He is more of a bonded laborer with surrendered freedom and identity, and this loss weighs heavily on his tender shoulders. Part 2. I want to drive a car. The author then tells about another victim of poverty, Mukesh, who wants to be a motor mechanic and wishes to drive a car. Hailing from Firozabad, the center of India's bangle making and glass blowing industry, he has always worked in the glass making industry. He lives in a stinking surrounding with choked lanes and garbage piles all around in a half-built shack with thatched dead grass roof with iron door, and his family of 3 generations uses firewood stove and aluminium utensils. His family, like the others there, do not know that it is illegal for children to work in such close proximity to furnaces with such high temperature. They are exposed to various health hazards like losing their eyesight as they work in abysmal conditions in dark and dingy cells. Mukesh's father is blind, as were his father and grandfather before him. They lead a hand-to-mouth existence as they are caught in the vicious web of the moneylenders, middlemen, police, and the traditions. So burdened are the bangle makers of Firozabad that most of them have lost their eyesight before even attaining adulthood. Their desire to dream and dare is snubbed in their childhood only. Now we'll discuss the main characters of this lesson. Number 1. Sahib. Sahib is a rag picker from Simapuri whose parents migrated from Bangladesh in the year 1971. The writer encounters him every morning with barefoot in her neighborhood. He is scrounging for gold in the garbage dumps. He is unable to go to school because there is none in his neighborhood. Sahib-e-Alam is his full name, though he does not know its exact meaning. It means Lord of the Universe. It is ironical on his part that a poor fellow roams in the streets picking up the rags. For the rag pickers of Simapuri, garbage is wrapped in wonder. Sometimes one can find a rupee, more of a silver coin, and they always hope to find more. They live in squatters with roofs of tin and tarpaulin. They have no identity except a ration card for voting and buying grain. They are devoid of sewages, drainage, and running water. Survival in Simapuri means rag picking. At present, Sahib is working at some tea stall. The writer sees him with a steel canister. He has lost his carefree look of his early days. He is not happy with his work because he is no longer his own master. Number 2. Mukesh. Mukesh is a young boy who belongs to a bangles maker family from Firozabad, the city which is famous for its colorful bangles, where almost every color of bangles are made: sunny, gold, blue, red, paddy green, yellow, sky blue, violet, and many others. He lives in Firozabad with his elder brother, sister-in-laws, and his father. Firozabad is famous for bangles industries where almost 20,000 children illegally work with adults in dingy cell at high temperature around the furnace without air and light. Mukesh's family is among them, whose entire family work in bangles industry and have spent generation working around forge. But Mukesh doesn't want to work in the bangles industry. He has a dream to be a motor mechanic and he insists to be that. Though it seems not too easy to be, but he does. He takes the author to his half-built home through a narrow stinking lane choked with garbage and 24 hours running water. There is no facility of proper drainage and dirty water management. The author sees the door of the house is made of tin with poor stability. She beholds, having entered the house, a frail young lady in a dim dark room cooking evening meal, who is Mukesh's sister-in-law. Some chopped vegetables are kept in aluminium plate on ground. Thatched grass is kept in a nook. Spinach leaves are sizzling on the stove. The situation of house seems coexisting animals and humans together. But yet, Mukesh is ready to walk a long distance to be a motor mechanic for making his dream true. Now we'll discuss the main points of this lesson. The author examines and analyzes the impoverished conditions and traditions that condemned children to a life of exploitation. These children are denied an education and forced into hardships early in their lives. The writer encounters Sahib, a rag picker whose parents have left behind the life of poverty in Dhaka to earn a living in Delhi. His family, like many other families of rag pickers, lives in Simapuri. They do not have other identification other than a ration card. The children do not go to school and they are excited at the prospect of finding a coin or even a 10 rupee note for rummaging in the garbage. It is the only way of earning the life. They live in impoverished conditions but are resigned to their fate. The writer is pained to see Sahib, a rag picker, whose name means the ruler of earth, lose the spark of childhood and roams barefooted with his friends. From morning to noon, the author encounters him in a tea stall and is paid rupees 800. He sadly realizes that he is no longer his own master and this loss of identity weighs heavily on his tender shoulders. The author then tells about another victim, Mukesh, who wants to be a motor mechanic. Hailing from Firozabad, the center of India's bangle making and glass blowing industry, he has always worked in the glass making industry. His family, like the others there, do not know that it is illegal for children to work in such close proximity to furnaces, in such high temperatures. They are exposed to various health hazards like losing their eyesight as they work in abysmal conditions, in dark and dingy cells. Mukesh's father is blind, as were his father and grandfather before him. They lead a hand-to-mouth existence as they are caught in the vicious web of the moneylenders, middlemen, police, and the traditions. So burdened are the bangle makers of Firozabad that they have lost their ability to dream, unlike Mukesh, who dreams of driving a car. So dear friends, if you have liked this video, please click on like, subscribe the channel and click on the bell icon to get more videos like this. Thank you very much for watching.